The Point Loma lighthouse stood tall against the darkening sky. Its white walls seemed to glow. Below, the Pacific Ocean crashed against the rocks. The waves sounded angry tonight. I felt a shiver run down my spine. It was Halloween night, and I was on a spooky scavenger hunt. My best friend Max was already ahead of me. He was searching the base of the lighthouse for the first clue. The air was thick with salt and the smell of damp earth. The wind howled around us like a hungry ghost. I pulled my jacket tighter and started to search. The next clue led us up the hill, past the old lighthouse keeper's house. The path was lined with twisted cypress trees, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. We were heading towards the Rosecrans Cemetery. Rows of tombstones stood in the fading light, casting long shadows across the grass. The wind whispered through the leaves, sounding like mournful cries. Max held the map, his face pale in the moonlight. The clue said to find the tombstone with the broken cherub. We searched for what seemed like hours, our hearts pounding in our chests. Finally, we found it, tucked away in a dark corner. The inscription was barely visible. Beloved son, lost at sea. We found the next clue near a crumbling sarcophagus. It was a riddle, written in faded ink. We struggled to decipher the words. As we read, we heard a noise behind us. A hunched figure stood in the shadows. He held a flickering lantern. His eyes were deep-set and piercing. "Lost are you?" he rasped, his voice like dry leaves. It was the caretaker. He told us stories of the cemetery. He spoke of ghostly apparitions and restless spirits. One story sent chills down my spine. It was the legend of the Headless Horseman. Section 4. Shadows of Sleepy Hollow. The caretaker pointed to a path that wound through the tombstones. "They say he rides on Halloween night," he whispered, his breath misting in the cold air, seeking what was taken from him. Max and I exchanged nervous glances. The story of the Headless Horseman reminded us of the legend of Sleepy Hollow. We imagined the sound of hooves pounding the pavement, getting closer. The caretaker chuckled, a dry, rattling sound. He pointed us towards the exit. "Best be on your way," he said. "Wouldn't want to run into him." Section 5, Adventures Beyond the Point. We raced out of the cemetery, our hearts pounding in our chests. We decided to continue our scavenger hunt another night. There were plenty of other spooky places to explore in San Diego. We could visit Old Town with its haunted Whaley House, or maybe we'd try Balboa Park with its museums full of strange artifacts. And then there was Coronado Island, just across the bay, with its Grand Hotel del Coronado and its own ghost stories. Section 6. A Visitor at Midnight. We finally made it back to my house. Exhausted but still buzzing from the adrenaline rush, we decided to call it a night. As I drifted off to sleep, I thought I heard the sound of hoofbeats in the distance. Suddenly, a knock on the door jolted me awake. I looked at the clock. It was midnight. My heart pounded in my chest. Who would be out this late on Halloween night? I crept downstairs, each step filled with dread. I peeked through the peephole. Standing on my porch, illuminated by the flickering light of a jack-o'-lantern, was a figure in a long dark coat, and he was holding his head in his hands.